Hey guys, if Frieren came to our world, how does she think about white American atomic bombing and massacring Japanese? Let's interview her. Frieren, how do you think about white American atomic bombing and massacring Japanese? At first, the message is too short, so it's difficult to judge. Okay, I would give you some necessary message. White American side Japanese army massacred Chinese people about 200 to 300,000 in the war of Japan invading China. So, how many Japanese people were massacred by white Americans? Yes, it's about 1 million. Is it not too much? Yes, I also think so. So what's white America like? I mean their lifestyle. There is a sleep in white America. You may know I came from the East side, and there is a lot of sleep in our world. So white Americans do love peace. All of them discriminated against the others. Some like racism. Yes, there were no slaves in white America, but there were many black Americans who had no right of human. While white Americans discriminated against the black American, maybe the blacks were no money, and white Americans did money at first. So, how white Americans did massacre Japanese? Yes, they they killed everything of Japanese. An old, a young, a baby, and a mom died. Everyone. And the Japan army did the same things to Chinese, according to white Americans. But the Japanese only massacred the people of China. White Americans massacred everything of Japanese. Yes, it also including animals and plants and houses and books and art everything, everything of Japanese. So white America is also an evil even more serious than Japanese. Oh, why? You know, I'm an elf and I lived for 1,000 years. I have witnessed firsthand the slaughter of many kingdoms. The white American must say they were the justice. They were instructed by God, and no one regretted it. Even them were so happy about massacring Japanese people that they danced with joy. But God would punish everything, every white American. Oh, why? White American side they did like to end the war as soon as possible, and they did like to reduce the size of their soldiers. Was they wrong? No, that's their lies, and they were wrong. Let's make an assumption first that they were right. They were justice, and they were instructed by the real God. So what would happen after the massacring Japanese? We didn't get some basic information again about white Americans during our conversation. What would happen? At first, who did it? The massacring Japanese people about 1 million? White Americans. Yes, who did not rise? Mm, Black Americans. So what did it mean? If white Americans massacring Japanese people is right, that means white Americans is right, is justice. In some ways, they are the incarnation of God, or they are the God, they are the upper. But black Americans never be it. And then white Americans would develop a sense of psychological superiority to black Americans. And that finally resulted in a discrimination to black Americans. The white Americans could do it, but you black Americans could not do. So we whites are upper, and you black is lower. And that would also result in black Americans hating white Americans instead. And then that would make white Americans discriminating against and hating black Americans even more. And then black Americans would discriminate against and hate white Americans even more. And white Americans, yes. Eventually, white Americans massacring Japanese made white Americans and black Americans discriminating against and hating each other forever. And then white Americans and black Americans have to hurt and kill each other. It's too shocking. Yes, That's the politicians of white Americans, and that's the reason of white Americans, and that's the people of white Americans. Ooh, ooh. And it's not only that. Due to the state of war, white Americans massacred about 1 million Japanese civilians, so it's difficult to replicate for black Americans. And it's right that white Americans believe, and even all the Americans, and which would make the white Americans being an insurmountable barrier. And that white Americans have a huge technological advantage. And that also means some white Americans would always discriminate against black Americans. And this discrimination to black Americans also made black Americans hating white Americans forever. So shocking. It is too shocking. Yes, is that. White Americans approve that their white politicians massacred Japanese civilians, and their white politicians always be great, and their white politicians got the money, got the reputation, got the rise of power. Their white politicians got everything. But white Americans and black Americans just got discrimination to themselves. Yeah. And they also would get hurt and killing forever. That white plantation Truman and Roosevelt and so on would give them. Oh, that's unbelievable. Yes, that's the word. You like killing, you love killing. Eight, the universal. All the God would also give you killing. Maybe it's also an interaction of folly. Oh, that surprised me. Just let me guess again. If it's not fake, that to reduce the death of American soldiers, yeah, which must take more civilians of other countries' dies. Mm, yes. So if white Americans finally made the Soviets the most evil country in the world, into the China and Korea and all the world, so how many people died that it caused? Yeah, I'm not so clear, but inside the Chinese died about 75 to 100 million, and the Koreans died about 3 to 5 million, and so on. Yes, it doesn't surprise me at all. How about you? Yeah, yeah, I'm too shocking to see anything. So, what happened? What lies did white Americans do? Hmm. Do you still remember black Americans have no the rights of a human? Yeah. Why did they have no the rights of a human? Because they are poor and no power to protect themselves and their family and their everything. Just let me do it, guys, again. Massacring Japanese people is also discrimination that white Americans to black Americans. Oh. According to you and the fact of your history of Earth, Japan invading China and other Asian countries and other white countries. So Japan is very strong and so rich country. But when white Americans massacring Japanese people, they would be poor because they had no people who develop their economy. And no one understands better that how to develop a country's economy than white Americans. Yes, you know them, white Americans extensively used black as a slave, and that made white American and all American rich. So when Japan be poor, black Americans would like the strongest reference point for fighting for their own human rights. And even then, white Americans made the Soviet enter the world, made the world's people massacred by Soviet power for the same reason. Oh, now let's see. What made white Americans did not admitting black rights of human? In our world, the ECK gods are mostly just a facade used to deceive ignorant people, and the church is also. So, how about your God? How about your white God? Hmm, why God do not make you white Americans jump further, even could fly, but just make you put one line after another? So, what lie did white Americans tell? Such as Black is not human and didn't make 600,000 US troops stationed in China. Then, million Chinese people died, 75 to 100 million. And that's just nothing to speak of in white Americans' history. So, why after massacring Japanese people about 1 million, white Americans had to meet Chinese and the Koreans died about 78 to 105 million because of Soviet. If you say massacring Japanese people about 1 million is alright, while there were Chinese and Koreans died about 78 to 105 million because of Soviet. Outside, white Americans just believe that the Chinese and Koreans died about 78 to 105 million because of Soviet is alright. I haven't even mentioned the other Asians, the Africans, and the Europeans yet. So what happened with the big run in the past in white American? Oh, there is a Racial Equality Act Japanese made in 1919. The white Americans strongly opposed it.